Hey, it's Michael here from SBR Fit and EnduroMike.com, depending on where you are watching. Whether it's Facebook, it'll be SBR Fit. If it's YouTube, it'll be Enduro Mike. So, yesterday or the day before, I was talking a little bit about goal setting and how you can set really good goals and sort of the background of how to achieve those. What that's done is it's kind of raised a few questions from people on how often should you check to see that you're progressing against them. So I thought I would do a really quick kind of, just I suppose, bit of background to testing and assessment. So we'll talk about testing in terms of fitness and assessment in terms of looking at how you're progressing, so to speak. It kind of brings it into account as well. So I'll give you a little personal story in the background. I came out of the back end of Christmas being about 10 kilos overweight, just because from the end of September I've not really had anything particular to train for. So Outlaw X was my last race, and that was the back end of September. Since then, I've just kind of been floating and just kind of doing a bunch of stuff. I've been training hard, but I've also been eating a lot and drinking a bunch of beer, because it's important that you enjoy your life as well as achieve stuff, I suppose. But anyway, so 10 kilos overweight, I decided that needed to kind of change. And I suppose with, I always have this thing that it's sort of January 1st is when I really start to knuckle down and get ready for races in the next year. So this year my races are Ironman Lanzarote, which is in May. Then we've got European Middle Distance Championships the month after that. And then an Ironman distance race in Eastbourne in the southeast of England after that. So those are my kind of big goals for the year. So I didn't really need to do that much other than just sort of tick over until December. So that's sort of what I did. So now we're starting to get back into it. So what I've done is I've kind of started watching what I eat, knocked alcohol on the head again until the middle of this year, and just kind of keeping track on how things are progressing with that. So what I've been doing is I've been checking my weight every single day. And if you follow any kind of weight loss plan, or you go to Weight Watchers, you go to anything like that, they'll tell you not to do that. And it's very, very good advice. And the reason for that is it fluctuates, right? So on a day-to-day basis, your weight will go up and down. Yeah, that's what happens. What you want to do whenever you're trying to lose weight or lose body fat or whatever is that you want to, over time, see the trend decline. Okay, and you will never see that happen if you do it on a day-to-day basis. All right. So what you really want to be doing is kind of looking at about a week to being about the sweet spot for measuring that. Maybe 2 weeks. It kind of depends. Yeah. Certainly, I would say whenever I'm working with clients, I always recommend about a week. But the important thing to do is to make sure that all of your measurements are comparable. Okay? So, if you're going to do it every week, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do it on the same day. You want to make sure you do it at the same time. And you want to make sure that you do it in the same state. Okay? So for me, to make life easy for myself, I do it first thing in the morning. As soon as I get up, go downstairs to make a coffee for me and my lovely lady wife. And while the coffee's brewing, I'll just jump on the scales. Okay? I always make sure that I do it in my pants rather than anything else, because clothes can weigh different amounts. Pants are generally about the same weight most of the time. So that is when I do my weigh-ins. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this little story is that I've done it every day this week. So Friday is my usual day, and I'll do it every week on a Friday, and that's how I see the development. But this morning, when I took it, I was heavier than I was yesterday. Yeah, by about 300 or 400 grams. So I looked at it this morning, and I was like, oh, that's annoying. That's kind of pissed me off a little bit. I was like, whatever. So I used MyFitnessPal, went up to MyFitnessPal, put the numbers in, and I was like, right, if I hadn't have been looking at this every day, would I be happy with where I am today? So I looked back at last Friday, and I'd lost 2.5 kilos, right? So 2.5 kilos is about, it's 2.2 kilos or 2.2 pounds to a kilo, so you're talking in the region of about 5-ish pounds, there and thereabouts. So I lost about 5 pounds in a week. Any of the fitness professionals out there, before you start slating me, yes, I know 2 pounds a week is kind of roughly where we're at. But bear in mind that over Christmas you end up getting quite a lot of water weight just from eating crap and drinking rubbish. So quite a lot of that will be just water retention going. But my point is this. If I hadn't have done it every day, I'd have looked at it this morning and been like, yeah, sweet, happy days, we're on the right track. Because I was doing it every day, I looked at it this morning and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, it's gone the wrong direction. Anyway, so if you're talking about losing weight and you've got a weight loss goal, my general advice will be once a week, possibly once a fortnight, okay? If you're looking at some kind of performance goal, right? So say you are, and I'm going to do a video about FTP and what FTP means and why it's an important thing to know, but for the sake of long distance triathlon, which is where I do most of my coaching, performance wise it's probably not that important. And I know this kind of goes against the grain, so anybody out there who's a triathlon coach might slate me for saying that, but there are more important metrics from middle to long distance triathlon than FTP. But if you're looking at trying to measure FTP, that I would suggest is something that needs to be done once a month. Now the reason for that is it takes longer to create a difference in FTP than a week. Yeah, but also it's a very difficult test to do, right? If you talk about doing the 20-minute version, you're talking absolute 100% maximum effort for 20 minutes. If you do the 60-minute version, then it's going to be slightly less than that, but it's still a pretty badass test. Now, if you try to do that once a week, all you're going to do is dig yourself into a massive hole because it takes a lot out of you. And you want to kind of go into it fresh as well. So if you think about how training works, what you're trying to do is build your training for 3 weeks and then recover for a week. So build for 3, recover for a week. That kind of lends itself quite nicely to doing an FTP test every 4 weeks. Yeah, and then you can see, whether you're progressing or not, and you can take action on that. So let's just say you measure your FTP, it's not gone up. Or it's gone backwards, then what you can do for the next 4 weeks is you can tweak your training to make sure that it keeps going in the right direction. Okay. Now that's likewise for threshold testing for running. Threshold testing for running, again, that's a 4-week assessment, I would say. So I think the takeaway message is going to be you need to test regularly enough to show that you're making progress, and also if it's metrics that you're using for your training to show that you're using the right intensity levels. Yeah. So for example, if you only ever tested FTP every 12 weeks, and let's say your FTP changed after 4 weeks, then you potentially got 8 weeks worth where you're working off the incorrect numbers. So you're not going to get as good a benefit from that. Likewise for the threshold testing for running. Weight loss, muscle mass, anything to do with changes of weight, really, I would suggest probably a week I like to work on. I know that there's some personal trainers out there who say 14 days or 2 weeks, but I like to think a week kind of gives you enough time to see a change, but it's not too long that if there is no change or if the change is in a negative direction, that you can take action on that. So whenever you're thinking about putting a testing program or a testing protocol together for yourself, or even, if you're a trainer or you're a coach and you're watching this for your clients, think about these 2 things. How difficult is the test? How hard is the test to recreate accurately? Because remember, you want them to be accurate. So just like weighing yourself in the morning, if you're doing an FTP test, you want to do it on the same day of the week, you want to do it at the same time of day, and you want to make sure that your fueling and your hydration is the same throughout the day. So let's just say you're doing it at midday. You want to make sure you've had the same breakfast as you do every time you do the test, you've drank the same amount of fluids as you do each time you do the test, and your kind of lead up for the previous few days has been the same, because that gives it a comparable test. So how easy is it to maintain accuracy in your testing? How much does the test take out of you? And how important is the data? Yeah. Now, if the data is really important, you might want to test more often. So, for example, if you've got a client or somebody who's got a weight loss goal, that data is going to be really important to them. And you may need to tweak to keep things going in the right direction more often. Whereas with macro tests, like lactate threshold and stuff, you can leave it a little bit longer. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of insight into how to put together a testing protocol. The simple, without loads of rambling from me, message is do it as often as you can do without damaging yourself, but also make sure that you can take action off the back of it if it is required. Cool. As always, if you have any questions, just drop me an email. My email will be down below, or you can just drop a comment in. That would be wicked also. And if not, then hopefully I'll see you again in another video very soon. Have a wonderful next few days. Bye-bye.